You're listening to Two Girls, One Crossword.
The other day at the dentist, I was getting like a cavity filled, two cavities actually. And it was actually my second time. Trust me, I don't even want to talk about it. I have like genetically cavity prone teeth, but I'm taking more steps to prevent cavities because let the record show, I floss every day. Obviously, brush twice a day.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I care about my dental hygiene more than regular people, but now I've added in like a fluoride mouth rinse. I have this special gum.
Yeah, she is like, when you talk to somebody about teeth health or dental health, Grace is like on her game. And then every time she goes to the dentist, she's like, I got another cavity. You're like, what are you talking about? You've taken care of your teeth better than anybody in the entire world.
To be fair, I haven't had a cavity for a while, but most of the cavities that I had to get this time, I had to get them redone. They were old fillings that apparently have to get redone. I'm like, I thought once I got one filling, I was good to go. Anyway.
Oh my God. All right. Tell me the story.
Okay. The thing is, like, when you're keeping your mouth open that long when they're doing dental work, my lips get so chapped.
Mm-hmm.
And then for like the next week, they're like chapped and I feel like the corners are ripped. It's like,
and just crusty. And you're just like, oh.
Yeah. It's like, can they be applying like chapstick while they're doing their stuff?
Right.
Like, that should be part of the thing because now I'm struggling. Like, you can't tell in the Zoom, but like my lips hurt from keeping
I know.
open. Anyway,
somebody give this girl a...
Do we have any dentists that listen to us?
Yeah. What's the deal? Are cavities supposed to be refilled, or is that just like another one of your dentist tricks to get more money since, most insurances don't cover dental work in the right way? Explain yourself.
Plus savings plan, everyone. If you don't have dental insurance, that's what you should get. Anyways, if you're interested, you can talk to me more about that. I'll let you know. But I do trust my dentist. She's very nice. And she has a light touch.
That's good.
Like, she's so delicate with, even though she's like, scraping the shite out of my teeth and whatever she's doing. It's like,
yeah.
She has a soft hand. But that's me. So good morning. And
good morning.
Yeah, I'm currently cavity free.
Wow. Welcome to Teeth Talk this morning with Grace and Chelsea. I have no idea what's going on in my mouth right now. So
sometimes it's better not to know. Just don't go to the dentist for years. And
I'm not going to think about it. Yeah, that's good.
Well, this isn't just about teeth. This podcast is also about crosswords. And that's why it's called Two Girls, One Crossword. I'm Grace Topinka.
I'm Chelsea Rowan. It's your favorite weekly Podword Crosscast. We're back again after a very short break in which I was traveling. So we're back on schedule.
And seemingly. We're recording this the day after Chelsea and Punxsutawney Phil's birthday.
Oh, yes, the best day of the year. And I've always said that, literally.
1 year older, another year wiser.
Yeah.
Did he see a shadow?
6 more weeks of winter. He saw his shadow, and we're going to get 6 more weeks of winter.
Well, I feel like winter was kind of delayed this year in Chicago. Like, it just recently started feeling like winter.
We had to walk Tuna like before the sun rose this morning because of how we're recording, and I hadn't done my hits and shits and all that stuff. So it was 1 degree outside, felt like -16. And Matt and I walked outside. We're like, whoa, that knocked the breath out of you. You're like, damn, I wasn't ready for that one.
That'll get you.
No matter how many winters you spend here, that first day, the first like really cold day that it just truly knocks the wind out of your lungs, you're like, I forgot that it can get this cold.
Speaking of things that happened in February, I have been searching every day. I look up to see if freaking Spangler Candy has released their 2023 Conversation Heart.
Yes.
They haven't released it yet.
They haven't. I looked up last year. They announced it at the end of January. So I was like, oh, okay, it should be coming out. Because I looked up like mid-January, and their announcement from last year was like January 27th. I'm like, oh, okay, we've got some time.
Clocks they're not doing it this
ticking.
year. The 1 year I care, I'm waiting with bated breath, and they don't do it.
No, I know. I'm kind of frustrated. I feel like ever since Spangler Candy bought the Conversation Hearts, there has been like some trouble. Like there's the 1 year where they tried to do it, but there was a huge production issue and everything was misprinted and all this stuff. And then they took a year off because of COVID. And then in 2021, they finally released like the what was it, like the positive thinking theme, like you got this or whatever.
That was 2022, but yeah.
Oh, right. Well, I just feel like they've been struggling since Spangler bought them. Not to like make this like a Spangler shit podcast, but like I will. Where are the conversation hearts? Explain yourself.
Brox or whatever, BRACH. They also make conversation hearts. They did release a theme this year. It's Friends themed. BT Dubs. If anyone's a fan of the TV show, that's all that comes up.
Oh, like, as Friends. Far as
new. Yeah. Like I know. The TV not show. Like platonic friends.
Like
even
BFFs.
Though that would be so cute. Like, let's hang.
I was like, we should get some. And then you're like, Friends, the TV show. I'm like, oh, less interested. I feel like that's Brox. I feel like that's a little out of touch. Like, why Friends specifically?
I don't know. Friends is eternal. I guess it's lasting. I have
Some
to say.
may say.
I never watched Friends at all until like a couple of years ago. I randomly watched the whole season. I'm like, I get why this is a comfort show. Obviously, there's plenty of problems with it. And some parts just like aren't funny, but it's comforting.
Sure.
You know,
okay.
Sometimes you just need a show like that.
I can't judge anybody for what they pick to be comforted by. I literally cannot.
Yeah. Shall we get into Pollapaloozers?
Let's get into Pollapaloozers, where they're losers in this week's poll.
Well, we do have one loser, I guess, the least chosen option. But we asked our Twitter followers, which, if any, of these categories does your street name fall under?
Oh, great poll.
And it's anonymous, so don't worry about revealing yourself.
We're revealing your address is live on air now.
Yes. Possible categories were tree, which is the most common street category, person, a local landmark, which I put little emojis to mean that also can mean like natural landmark, like river, creek, whatever, harbor, or a number. And 50% of the votes said that their street was named after a person.
My current is a person. My childhood was a tree.
Your current is a person?
I'm not going to tell you who, but just know.
I know your street name, but I didn't realize that was a person. But no, I guess that makes sense. Okay. I don't know what. I think I know. I don't even want to say, but
okay.
I think I know what my current is.
This is for off air.
Yeah. Okay. Second place with 29% of the vote was a number. That was my childhood home, was a number.
Yes.
In Miami. Okay. Third place with 14% was a tree, which that's my supposedly the most common one. And then 7% had local landmark.
Okay.
Yeah. So
there
right. You have it, people.
That would be like my first Chicago apartment was like the street I was on is named after the university.
Yeah.
You know?
I also lived on that street.
I know you did.
At different times. This is a fun fact about Chelsea and I that isn't probably that fun to people, but we used to live across the street from each other, but at different times before we knew each other. We were like a year, like I moved out probably and you moved in.
Yeah, so but actually it's funny you should say that the year that was probably your last year there, I was on that same street. I lived on that street in two different apartments. So my first year there was 2014 to 2015. And then I moved down the street across from where you lived.
Crazy.
So maybe we were there at the same time and we passed each other on the train, just two ships in the night.
I moved out in 2013, so.
All right.
What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, sorry. Like, basically all the past polls have been my topic. And I don't do that on purpose, but some topics lend themselves more.
What was my topic that it was?
A journalist.
That my topic is not poll. It's like, who's your favorite
it's hard when it's like a bio, like about a specific person. So.
I really don't mind. I truly don't mind. I want a good poll for all of our listeners.
Well, I hope I can provide that for you, listeners. Shall we move along into our heights and shites?
It's time to talk about the hits and the shits. I felt like I did more crosswords in the 2 weeks since we've last recorded. But then I was like going back, I was like, maybe I actually hadn't. Maybe it just felt like I did more because I tried when I was in the airport to do crosswords, but I was doing like Thursdays. And so New York time Thursday. So it's trickier. And so even though I spent a lot of time working on crosswords, I think I only completed like 2 of them. So, so bear with me. I have like a little bit to talk about today.
All right. Well, do you want to start?
I'll start. I'm going to take us back to Tuesday, January 24th, New Yorker by Eric Agard. I love Eric puzzles, and it's been a while. Well, it hasn't been a while. It's been 2 weeks since I think we've had a Eric puzzle in our hits and shits. But 15 across. White House. Igloo, which is fun.
Nice.
And I think I'm understanding this one, but I also might be making a fool of myself. 19 across. Topping, maybe, question mark. And the answer is better than sex, which is like, have you heard of like a better than sex cake or like a better than crack cake?
No, I've only heard of better than sex mascara.
There's also that. Well, a better than sex cake is a chocolate cake topped with caramel, toffee, and whipped cream or something, like a whipped topping. Which, I mean, I don't know if that's better than sex necessarily, but it does sound pretty tasty. But I'm like, am I understanding
I can't have caramel anymore.
You can't? Oh, because your
teeth? Because of my fillings. And I don't even like caramel that much. But
True.
So that cake is not better than sex for me.
I feel like it's not like the hard caramel. It's like the caramel toppings. But like is that still not good for your fillings? Like an ice cream drizzle, you know?
Yeah. I wouldn't risk it.
She's not risking it. Not for better than sex cake. Okay, 23 across. Manaki or Manikai blank. Beckoning cat figurine. And the answer was Neko. And I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. It's Japanese, I think, or maybe Chinese. But I didn't realize. So this beckoning cat figurine, I always thought of it as a lucky cat.
Yeah.
But it's apparently the proper name is Manikai or Manaki Neko.
Cool.
I'm like, that's really cute. This is relevant to us, 34 across. Gossip story that stays in the news for weeks. And by news, our news. The answer is saga. I love when like there's something that we're following and it's not necessarily like gossip that we're involved in, but like extracurricular gossip that we're just following along with. It's like, and I get a voice message, you're like, oh my God, okay, so this is what's going on. It's like,
I love when people post all of their, stuff online. Some people are like, stop posting. No, keep posting. If you want to share. I love to like learn about the human experience. That's what I tell myself.
3 down from that same puzzle. Phrase that can mean pay attention or check out this link to my podcast, which is like attacked. And the answer is listen here, which is hilarious.
Cute.
And then lately question mark. At the last second. I thought that was creative.
Nice.
And then 25 down. I could probably put in like 5 or 6 more from this puzzle, but I really have to like hold myself back from just reading every single clue and answer in an Eric puzzle. 25 down. Do some asynchronous communication. The answer is leave a note. Leave a note. I just thought that was pretty funny. Yeah, that's that puzzle. Good job, Eric, as always. What you got, kid?
The Monday New York Times by David Steinberg.
All right.
8 down, bespectacled cartoon aardvark. Arthur. Of course. We love to see it. That's what my mom always thinks my cat's name is. 45 down, certain restaurants, ... or their customers. The answer is diners, which you did a topic on once many years ago. I didn't look it up.
That's okay.
Okay, 42 across. Alphabetically, the first group in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's 4 letters. Who would you think it is? Okay, you were right. At first I was like, it's AC/DC. Then ABBA. I guess ABBA's a rock group?
I don't think just rock people are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Then why call it the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Call it the General Music Hall of Fame.
I know. But I mean, I do think that there's like some elements of rock in some of their songs, but they're definitely more like pop. But I mean, yeah, the only reason I knew this is I feel like there was a crossword clue. It was like Swedish or whatever nationality they are,
Swedish
group that was put into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 20 whatever, and it was like ABBA, and you're like, oh, that's weird, and then that's just a fact that stays with you, you know?
Yep, that's how you get smarter doing crosswords with useless knowledge.
Wow.
38 down, duh in modern slang, and the answer was obvi. I actually feel like that is, a correct use of slang, which we don't always see in the New York Times. And then 56 across, this was the theme revealer, with 67 across in a sudden and completely apparent way, or punny description of this puzzle's circled letters. So the the revealer 56 and 67 was right between the eyes. And so then throughout the puzzle, there's long clues with circled letters, and on either side of the circle is the letter I. For example, skating on thin ice. The I in thin and the I in ice. In between, there's an N. And there's 4 of those, and then they spell out, the circled letters spell out nose, because noses go between your eyes.
Cute.
So, that was a fun little way to end that one.
I like that. I like a good theme.
Mm-hmm. That's all I have for that one.
Okay, speaking of themes, I'm talking about the theme from the Thursday New York Times, January 26th, by Dan Ziering and Chiara Vasquez. Sorry. The theme, the revealer was 33 across, developing phenomena literally depicted 3 times in this puzzle. And the answer was snowball effects. And so the way that they literally, depict the snowball effect in the puzzle is through gradually enlarging the answers inside of a rebus. So, for instance, 1 across. What was this? Hold on. The answer across would be like grow, Grow, but the first square would have just the G. The second square would have the GR. The third square would have the GRO. And then the fourth square would have GROW. And then those rebuses worked for the down clues. So the rebus that was GROW goes with 4 down, beer container, so growlers. Or the GRO goes with 3 down, punished for the weekend perhaps, grounded, and so on and so forth. And so some other words that kind of depict this the clues for those would be like 1 across, gradually develop, literally. Those were the clues for all of these. So one would be grow, one answer was form, FORM, and the other was swell. And so that was fun to kind of see those rebuses. And I was like, when I figured that out, I was like, it's over for you idiots. I'm a fucking genius. So that was a fun theme. And that's all I have from that puzzle specifically, just because it, when you have a good theme and it takes up most of your concentration on a puzzle, you're like, I just gotta commend
that's all
this
you can
theme.
Focus on. I love that. I feel like we haven't seen that before.
Yeah, it was fun. It was really fun. What else you got, kid?
The Monday New Yorker by Elizabeth Gorski. 23 across, Tabasco for 1, and the answer was state.
Yeah,
because it is a state in Mexico. 36 across, in quotes, can't someone else do it? And the answer was, must I?
Must I?
48 across, body image, ? And the answer was scan.
Cute.
51 across, professional pitcher, ? And the answer was sales rep.
Oh, true. Very true.
And then, 55 across, the clue was exactly, and then filled in. It was like, I eventually filled it in because of the downs, but I thought it was totee, like totally, TOATEE. And I was like, is that a new, thing that people say? But then I realized it's to a T.
Isn't that the worst when, you fill something in and you're reading it and you're like, this isn't a phrase, a word, nothing. And then somebody, whether it's you later on or, Matt breathing over my shoulder and like, Chelsea, that's this word. And you're like, oh, I'm such an idiot.
4 down, night courses for couples, ? And the answer is romantic dinners.
Cute.
40 down, business with lots to sell, ? And the answer was realty.
Cute.
And then 49 down, like items listed in a buy nothing groups. The answer is free. So it's just me encouraging people to join their buy nothing groups. Although now I see all these memes about people, if you don't know, buy nothing group, usually it's a Facebook group in your neighborhood and people post stuff that they're trying to get rid of. And the idea is that you can ask for things or you can get things from the group, but you also have to be posting, stuff for the group. Not a ton of things, but you can't just be in there constantly asking for things.
Right.
But now there's now there's memes of how people will ask, they'll be like, giving up this pair of socks that I have, searching for an iPad or
Yep. Or they'll be like, looking for a brand new in-box iMac, like from 2021 or whatever. And it's like, someone's like, oh, I have one that's perfect.
iPod mini.
Yeah. I have one that's perfect. It's like, it was used for about 3 months, but like we never used it. You can have it. I still have the box. And they're like, no, we'd rather it wasn't used. You know, like, and you're like, are you kidding me?
I'm in a lot of those like groups, and sometimes people, they ask for, well, whatever. I can't get that into it, but yes, that happens all the time where people are like, I really, really need this. And someone has like a pretty good offer. Like, no, I'm actually looking for like something else.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I saw something yesterday, and it wasn't in like a buyer, like whatever, a free one. It was like a garage sale one. Like, hey, like whatever. This person was talking about how they are a horrible plant parent and they've almost killed all of their plants, and they've got a bunch of dead plants, like almost dead plants that they're trying to adopt out to a new home. And I'm like, oh, that's really nice. And then they go on to say, like, you can't have any of the stands in the picture or any of the pots in the picture. You could just have the plastic containers of the plants. And I'm like, okay, fine. And then they start listing every dead plant and how much they're going to charge somebody for it. And I'm like, you're really going to charge somebody $30 for your dead snake plant? Like, this is something that you just put out in the alley and like hope somebody picks up for free. I'm like, people are ballsy on these groups. Like,
I know. And I do a lot of Facebook Marketplace stuff. Sometimes things like just aren't worth the hassle of trying to sell it for $20. I put a lot of stuff on I'm in a couple different free groups. I'm like, whoever can come reliably and take this away, it's yours.
Yeah, I know. We also used to have like, in our neighborhood, there was this house that had like a big tree stump out front of it. And the person who owned the house like encouraged other people to use the stump to like basically put things down for free. So if you ever had like a plant or like a pan that you weren't using anymore, or even like canned goods that you weren't going to use, like put it on the tree stump and someone will take it. The family left, a new family moved in, and they started writing in chalk, like, stop leaving trash on our property, blah, blah, and then they got the tree stump removed.
Oh my God.
And everybody in the neighborhood was like,
up in arms,
like, yeah. Somebody left a note, was like, this is what we use it for. And they were like, no. And so now they use an alley instead, which it does the job, but it's not as like for forward neighborhood facing, you know?
Yeah.
It's funny.
That's city living. One quick anecdote about alleys, and then we can get back to it. But the other day, I posted this on my Instagram story, but like I was walking through my alley and someone had dumped like 300 Pez dispensers onto, it was like on top of a dumpster, but it was like an entire Pez dispenser. I don't know what happened. Someone just got rid of either was forced to get rid of their Pez dispenser collection, but I had never seen that many.
I feel like a lot of them are collectibles too. So it's like sad to think that like they may end up in like a landfill or something.
Yeah, I was looking because I do want this. There's like a black cat one that's like a Halloween one, but it's never in any stores. So I did kind of like look around to see, but they didn't have it. Sad. But it was just like, this is the things that you see, like walking along the street.
You love
like,
it.
What happened here?
Yeah.
It's me or the Pez dispenser collection. I imagine that's.
I hope that is in fact.
Fine. You want me to get rid of the collection? I'll dump it in the dumpster right now.
I'll throw it out right now.
Yeah.
I'm just going to tell you right now, if that's how it went down, like, they're probably not going to end up together, you know? That's just...
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows?
If that was you, and you had to get rid of your Pez dispenser collection, let us know why.
Yeah, please.
This is the drama that Grace and what I'm talking about, these
I think
sagas.
It could also be, like, more sad, but maybe someone died. Like, it was, like, someone's parents' Pez dispenser collection. They're like, don't want this.
I know. I'm like...
But they could have listed online, be like, any Pez...
Or taken it to like any like thrift store or any of these like antique stores around us. Like,
yeah,
I just look at stuff like that from like, my dad's always been into he's been into estate sales, garage sales. Like he's always like looking for a collector moment, something like that. If you find the right person, they're going to be willing to pay. Why are you throwing that in the dumpster?
Yeah.
You're missing out.
Yeah.
Could have made a quick buck. Anyway, let's
Sorry, I feel like we're getting way.
Yeah. Okay. I will end. I have 2 more puzzles, but I'm only going to talk about one more because I feel like we need to start moving along here.
Yeah.
I'll talk about the Friday, January 27th, New Yorker by Rebecca Goldstein. The theme was fun. It was called For Starters, and the revealer was 58 across, artistically arranged appetizer, or where to find the beginnings of 3, 5, 8, and 10 down. And the answer, the 15-spanner answer, was charcuterie board. It's like the first time we've seen charcuterie board, I think, in a puzzle, or at least that I've seen it in a puzzle. And so the beginnings of 3, 5, 8, and 10 down are as follows. 3 down, peace sign, question mark. Olive branch, so yes, you would find an olive on a charcuterie board. 5 down, dachshund, informally, sausage dog, which is very cute. Although I think a traditional charcuterie board would have sausages, but like the way that it's done in America, I've never once seen a sausage on a charcuterie board. 8 down, Academy Award-winning star of Room. The answer is Brie Larson. It's like such a funny clue to put for charcuterie board. Like the movie Room is like so sad.
Yeah.
But
hey. Yeah, no, it could have done like Captain Marvel.
I know. 10 down, snack one might crave during the 7th inning stretch, and the answer is Cracker Jack. So that was fun. I also liked 21 across. Ugh, what hasn't gone wrong? End quote. And the answer was, it's a mess. And then this felt like for you and I, 43 down. What might wash down a convenience store taquito? And the answer is big gulp, because ooh. God bless, that sounds good. It really does.
We love to see it.
It just wets the palate just thinking about it.
For Chelsea's birthday, we got her this is not the only thing we're getting her, but because we didn't celebrate her birthday on her actual birthday, but we got her a large Coke from McDonald's.
Truly, I kid you not. Like, Matt came in because Alex dropped off a bag and he like showed the bag. I was like, oh, that's so sweet. And then he's like, and he pulled the Coke out from behind it. And I was like, you gotta be effing kidding me. This is the best birthday of my life.
Amazing. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed
that.
I
appreciate
the picture you took of it though, like it looks crisp, you know.
I know.
It just
you just feel it in your mouth, like just that. Anyway, we're Coke girlies.
Okay, this is my I'll end on this one.
All right.
The Wednesday, February 1st, New Yorker by Brooke Husick. 1 across, PR person, question mark. And the answer was Boricua. I thought that was amazing. 13 across, salamander with a Nahuatl name. It's axolotl.
Oh, yeah.
Which they're so cute, and I just like seeing the name because it's fun to spell.
I think you can make a crochet one, by the way.
Yes. I know. 25 across, hidden entrance maybe, and the answer was trapdoor.
Cute.
47 across, seriously dramatic makeup style. Full glam.
Yes.
Are
you gonna go full glam for your wedding?
No.
Sorry, I will be.
You should. I did. Well, I don't know, because like the only other time I've gone professional makeup done was for my sister's wedding, and like it feels so weird to be wearing that much makeup, but it does look really good in pictures though, but it looks kind of crazy in person. But it was like weird. I was like, oh, this doesn't look like me. I feel like kind of bizarre, but then in the pictures it looks really good, so I'm like, I'm
getting makeup done for the wedding I'm in April, and this is the first time I'm going to have it done professionally, and I'm like stressed. I want to basically go there and be like, hey, I want like a dewy fresh look, not like a cakey look. But yeah. I don't know what to expect. I'm like, I don't wear makeup also, like that.
Yeah, it depends. I think like if they're doing it for pictures, I think prepare yourself that it might be like cakier than you're used to, but it'll look really good in pictures. So.
All right. Okay. It is like these people that is the wedding. It's their wedding. They're like film people. So the people they're hiring are like makeup artists that they know from set. So like I trust them.
Yeah.
But I'm also sure I don't wear makeup like this, so I'm just going to be like, okay, to your point of like, I don't even look like myself, but we'll see.
Sometimes that's fun. Okay, and then the last one, 4 down, just trust me for now. And it was like the full puzzle length, and it was, I'll explain later. I just love that of someone being like, come with me, I'll explain later. There's only a couple people in life that'd be like, fine.
Right.
I'll go along with it, but you better explain later. But you are one of them.
You're the one for me too, as well.
Yeah. They'd be like, hold on. But I'd be like, oh, fine. All right, shall we?
Let's flip a coin. All right.
We've gabbed long enough.
All right, 2 girls who gab. Flipping the coin now. It's heads.
guess I'll just relax.
My topic comes from the Thursday, January 26th, New York Times by Dan Ziering and Chiara Vasquez. 8 Down. Game in which the object is to score 500 points. And the answer is Uno.
Oh, that's the point.
Yeah. This is what brought me in, because I was like, you gotta be kidding me. So I'm talking about Uno and one other card game. It's a shorter topic, but it's fun. I feel like it's one of those chit-chatty topics, so let's get to it. Oh, first, we've talked about card games before and also other games, and just cards in general before. And those episodes are episode 8, Macho and Magical. We talked about tarot, and the history of tarot is interesting, and it's related to the history of like the standard deck of cards as well. So that's why I included it. And then episode 115, it's Anyone's Games, in which we talked about cards. Those were both Grace's topics. So thank you, Grace. If you're interested in more about cards, check those topics out. And then this is like part 3 in the series of cards topics.
We cover it all.
We really do. I feel like if we had a website, we could be like, if you're interested in food, check out these episodes. If you're interested in games, check out these episodes. But we don't. So
yeah.
Well,
do people like that? I don't know. Like,
I don't know.
The age-old question, do people want us to be putting the topic names in the title more clearly?
Yeah. Who knows?
Well, no way to know. Anyways,
a conversation for another day. Okay, so Uno is an American shedding type card game that's played with a specifically printed deck. So a shedding game or shedding type card game is when players start with a hand of cards, and the object is to be the first player to discard all of those from your hand. So that's like an overarching category of card game, and Uno falls underneath that. Some other common shedding card games are Crazy Eights, Canasta, Speed, Old Maid, and many, many others. So let's talk about where Uno came from. Let's do a little bit of Uno history. First, do you like Uno? Did you play Uno a lot as a kid?
I didn't play it a lot as a kid, but yes, I feel like it is like a funner card game because it's easy to teach people. At least
you can play it with larger
but apparently
groups
I've been playing
too,
it wrong.
Right?
Yeah,
you can play it with larger groups. I played so much Uno as a kid, like so much Uno. Played a ton of Uno in college, and then when Matt and I started dating, I'd always try to get him to play Uno, and he's like, "I hate Uno. It takes so long to play. Like, you know, if it was faster, it'd be more fun, but, you know."
Well, first of all, that's crazy as an adult to, like, sit down with another adult and play just a 2-person card game. I don't know. Am I weird? Like,
You are weird. Matt and I play cards all the time.
Maybe that's, like, what people should be doing. I did that when I was a kid. My sister and I used to play card games.
I find
Egyptian
that,
Rat
like,
Screw was our favorite.
Yeah, I find that cards, or just games in general, I know you're not, like, a big board game person, but I'm sure you could find a board game that you enjoyed, but, like, something that's more analog and where you have an excuse to get off your phone, get off the computer, turn the television off, and just, like, actually spend time with another person, you know. And, like, Matt and I have been dating for a very long time, you know, so we're always looking for ways to continue, like, the communication, like the spending time with each other in a way that's not like, let's just put on a TV show and sit and be quiet and watch this TV show. So
that's true. But I enjoyed doing like a puzzle more for that.
Puzzles fall into the same exact category, like a craft night. I mean, if you can, I'm going to hype up any sort of analog activity, whether it's a board game, a card game, a craft or something.
Although I do feel like craft night, it's like, it's basically just 2 people sitting in silence, depending on what it is. Like if it's crochet, true. I feel like that's what it turns into.
It's true. Well, we had craft day at my place, and after you taught me how to crochet, you, me, Hannah, and Alex just sitting in utter silence.
Like not even music playing. No.
Do you want the TV on or something? We're like, I can't. I have to count. I can't think. But yeah. So just to say, card games are fun if you like that sort of thing. To Grace's point, puzzles could be more fun for you, but find something analog to do with your loved ones. Anyway,
don't let me dissuade you. I have weird hangups about certain things.
She does. It's fine. We love her anyway. So Uno, where was it invented, etc. Uno was invented in 1971 by a man named Merle Robbins from Reading, Ohio. I told that back to Matt, and he was like, Uno sounds like something a guy from Ohio would invent. And I was like, yeah, you're right, it does. So Merle Robbins was a barber, and he invented the game Uno to resolve an argument between himself and his son Ray over the rules of a different card game called Crazy Eights. I didn't realize this, but Uno is essentially like based off of a game called Crazy Eights, and we're going to talk more about Crazy Eights in just a minute. So Uno was an instant hit within Merle Robbins' family and with his friends, and eventually he mortgaged his home and raised $8,000 to create the first 5,000 Uno decks, which he sold like from his barbershop, from local stores. And then he eventually sold the rights to Uno to a group of what they called friends in all of the sources I could find, one of which was a man named Robert Tizak, who was a funeral parlor owner in Joliet, Illinois.
Okay.
Yeah, and he sold the rights of the game to Tizak for $50,000 plus royalties of 10 cents for every game sold. And then Tizak formed International Games Incorporated to market Uno, and he created the office for International Games Incorporated at the back of his funeral parlor, as one does in Illinois.
I love this man.
We have some information on Tizak coming right up. So then in 1992, International Games was bought by the Mattel family of companies. And it's produced now, today, the game is produced by Mattel in 80 countries and has sold 151 million copies worldwide. And the original inventor of the game, Merle Robbins, died in 1984 in Cincinnati.
Did he actually make money off of it?
Couldn't find anything. I think the money that he made off of it was just that $50,000 he got from Tizak and potentially any royalties that Tizak promised him in that contract. But when Tizak sold it to Mattel, probably nothing went to Merle. Yeah. Because Merle died before Mattel even bought the rights in 92. Or acquired the game in 92. Anyway, so the most contentious part about Uno, I think, and we're going to spend the next little section talking about, are the rules of Uno. I'm going to tell you the official rules, and then we can talk about some house rules and like how we play Uno, how it's different. So I've never met a single person who, when you pull out your Uno cards, are like, actually, the rules say you play it like this. I've never met a single person who does that. If you are that person, let me know, because I'm sorry. You are an anomaly. Anyway, so like the original crossword clue says, the aim of the game is to be the first player to score 500 points. I had no effing clue that you could even score in Uno.
I know. I'm like, wait, how do you even score a point in Uno?
Right? So I always thought it was like, get rid of your cards first, and then you win the hand, and then you can play another hand if you want to.
Yeah.
Right?
That's okay.
So that's like the aim of the game. I'll continue explaining the rules now. So scoring 500 points is achieved by being the first to play all of your cards and scoring points for the cards still held by the other players.
Oh.
So numbered cards 0 through 9 are face value. Draw 2, skip, reverse, they are all worth 20 points. Wild and wild draw 4 are worth 50 points. And then in more contemporary versions of Uno, as of like 2018, there's a new wild called Wild Shuffle, which you can like, if you play it, you get to shuffle your hand with somebody else. Like you can take somebody else's hand and they get yours. And that is worth 40 points. Everybody starts with 7 cards. The goal is to discard all your cards by matching with the card on the discard pile. You have to match by either the number, color, or symbol. For instance, if the discard pile has a red 8, you can put a red 8 there, or a yellow 8, a green 8, right? Or you can put any of the action cards like a wild, reverse, skip, blah. If a player has no matches or they choose not to play any of their cards, this was a different rule for me. They must draw a card from the draw pile. If that card can be played, play it. Otherwise, keep the card and the game moves on to the next person. We'll talk about
drawing.
I know. We'll talk about house rules in a second, but that is like, I was like, are you effing kidding me? Okay. The game continues until a player has 1 card left. The moment the player has just 1 card, they have to say Uno. We all know that rule. If they're caught not saying Uno by another player before their next turn, they must draw a penalty of 2 new cards. That's interesting. And then once a player has no cards remaining, the game round is over, points are scored, and the game begins anew. Those are the official rules. And there's some more like nuanced rules in the official rules. If you're interested, pick up your Uno box and get that little leaflet out. But for our purposes, those are the rules of Uno. So those are the official rules. And I'm going to talk now about some common house rules. So first, we already talked about this. We never scored Uno.
Correct.
When you couldn't match, say you had a red 8 down in the discard pile and you had nothing to match and you had to pick up from the draw pile, it says pick up 1 card. And if you can play it, play it. If not, it moves on to the next person. we play, you have to pick up until you have something you can play.
Yeah, that's how we played too.
I think that's pretty common. The other thing that threw me in this is that if a player has no matches, so if you can't match the 8 or you don't have any action cards, or they choose not to play a card, then you can pick up from the draw pile as like a penalty. That is, you have to play if you have something in your hand. Like there is no holding on to an 8. And if somebody thinks that you're cheating and not playing something that you have, you can get called out in it, and then you'd have to draw penalty points for not playing it. That's how we always played.
Yeah, although what's the purpose of holding on, like not playing a card, unless you're like saving, like a draw 4.
Exactly.
It changes when, I feel like when our rules is you have to keep pulling cards till you have one to play, it does not behoove you to like not play a card. But if you only get one card penalty and you're saving like,
a draw 4 or something.
Then I could see that.
Yeah, I mean, some people try to strategically play like their draw 4s or their draw 2s to certain people. Like, maybe you're hoping it gets reversed back to you, then you can play it on the person that was playing before you, something like that. But like, yeah, I don't know why you would want to hold on to that card, but that's one of those rules. Let's see what else we got. So if you forget to say Uno in the official rules, you only draw 2 cards. We always played if you forget to say Uno and someone catches you, you have to draw 7 cards. How did you play? Do you remember?
No, I don't remember. I don't think it was that big of a penalty, though.
It's interesting. Let's see. If you have exactly the same, this is another house rule. If you have exactly the same card in your hand, you can try and play it before the next player, thus cutting the turn. So say it's 3 of us playing, you, me, and Alex, and I put down a green 8, and you're next, and you're deciding whether you want to put your green 7 or your red 8 down. Alex has a green 8 in her hand. She can cut in line and play
that would make for an insane game, though.
I know. It's crazy. A lot of people try to find ways to make Uno faster.
Yeah.
Which I can totally understand, but that's like friendship ending stuff, honestly. Yeah. Okay. And Uno's can already be tense depending on who you're playing with. Okay. The big one we just talked about, you keep drawing cards until you can play and then your turn ends. There's like a version of Uno you can play called Power Deck, where you take 2 sets of Uno cards and discard all the numbers from one of the deck, making a deck with 2 times the reverse skip, draw 2 wild, and wild draw 4.
Ooh, that's fun.
That sounds crazy, right? And then there's a thing called stacking, or maybe you call it doubling. So draw 2s and wild draw 4s are stackable. So an example, Anne puts down a red draw 2. Bob can put down another draw 2 card or draw 2 from the stack. So you can like negate the penalty if you have it. Yeah. Bob puts down another draw 2 on top of the one Anne placed, and then Chad has to pick up 4 or place down a draw 2. And it continues that way, onward and onward.
Oh my gosh.
It's crazy,
Sucks
right?
For whoever it lands on.
Right. Oh, so that's stacking. Then we have doubling. Doubling is playing 2 of the exact cards as one, i.e. 2 green 8s, also valid for action cards, but not for wilds. So, like, if you play a green 8 and I have 2 green 8s in my hand, I can play them both instead of just the one. And then there's another variation of the same theme, multiples, meaning you can play all of the same number cards in your hand on your turn. So you play a yellow 7 and I have 2 red 7s, a blue 7, and a green 7. I can play all of them at the same time. Another way to just keep the game moving.
Yeah.
And this is another one in the original Uno rules. When you run out of the draw pile and you have the discard pile just sitting there, what would you do next?
You flip over the discard, but you would have to shuffle it, I think.
You would shuffle it?
Actually. Or maybe not. I don't remember.
We never shuffled it. And in the original Uno rules, you shuffle it. But in all of the Uno forums that I were on talking about house rules, everybody was saying, you never shuffle the discard pile. You just flip it over. And I think it's funny that like that is kind of transcends so many people's house rules for Uno.
Yeah.
That like Uno, the card game, actually posted on Facebook a couple years ago and was like, what are your craziest house rules? So a lot of these I got from that, and then like the Uno people would like respond, be like, that's crazy, and then I saw someone was like, I'm not posting my house rules in case Mattel wants to take them and make money off of them by making them official Uno rules. And everyone's like, shut up. Okay, so I'm going to go to Crazy Eights now. Uno is based off of the game Crazy Eights, which essentially it's like they're very similar. So let's just talk about them. Crazy Eights apparently first appeared in the 30s, and it was just known as eights. And it became known as Crazy Eights in the 40s, which this is like sad, but it was derived from the designation from like military soldiers who were discharged for being like having like some sort of like maybe PTSD or discharge from the military into Section 8. And so that's why it started being called Crazy Eights. And I was like, that's sad. Anyway, so how's it played? Everyone's dealt 5 cards. The remaining cards are placed face down at the center of the table as a stockpile. The top card is then turned face up to start the game. So very similar to Uno, except instead of 7 cards, you're given 5. Players discard by matching rank or suit with the card in the discard pile. Again, very similar. They can also play any 8 at any time, which allows them to declare that that is the suit that the next player is to play. Okay, so an 8 works as like a wild card. If a player cannot play when the stockpile if a player is unable to play, that player draws cards from the stockpile until they can make a play. So so I think a lot of the house rules that we have for Uno come from Crazy Eights. So like if you were taught how to play Uno by somebody who grew up playing Crazy Eights, chances are a lot of the Uno rules that you're playing are more of like the official Crazy Eights rules, which I thought was interesting. If the stockpile runs out, all played cards, except for the top, are reshuffled to form a new stockpile. The game ends as soon as one player has emptied their hand. And then Crazy Eights is like a betting game. So like you bet and you collect money from the players based on the bets that you've made about who is going to go out first. So obviously they're very similar. Some differences. Crazy Eights is played with a standard deck of 52. You're dealt 5 cards instead of 7. In Crazy Eights, you're free to assign which cards are used to skip, reverse, or draw. So, like, that's an element of Crazy Eights I didn't quite follow, but you can, like, make house rules with the people you're playing and be like, a 2 of hearts is a skip. An ace of spades is a draw 4 or something.
Okay.
And so you can see why Merle and his son Ray got into potentially a fight over Crazy Eights, and then Merle was like, screw this, I'm going to make a standard game and, like, clear up some of these rules. In Crazy Eights, if you're unable to play, you must draw cards until you have a possible play, while in Uno, you only draw 2 or 1 card. And then Uno is played until the player gets 500, while Crazy Eights, it varies depending on the number of players playing. So yeah, that's Crazy Eights. You can kind of see where Uno came from.
Yeah.
I'm going to end with a fun fact on the guy who bought Crazy Eights from Merle Robbins. His name is Robert Tizak, and this story comes from the Chicago Tribune in 2013. So I'm just going to read you a couple snippets. Former Will County coroner and Uno card game tycoon Robert Tizak is due to report to prison Thursday for a 4-month sentence connected to the 1987 arson conviction that toppled his political and business empire.
What a life this man led.
So apparently he called himself, like, what did he say? Essentially like one of the most wealthy and prominent Republicans in Illinois in like the late 70s, early 80s. Okay. And he made a ton of money selling, Uno to Mattel in 92. But prior to selling Uno to Mattel, he spent 14 years Tizak spent 14 years in state and federal prisons for setting fire to a Crest Hill bowling alley he owned and a second arson at a downtown Joliet building he owned.
He did arson twice.
He spent 14 years in prison, got out, broke his parole, and this is 2014. He broke his parole, and now he was going to go back to prison in 2013 because he broke his parole after his 14-year prison stint. He sold Uno to Mattel, like, right before he went to prison for his arson charges.
Wow. Well.
Yeah, so that's Robert Tizak for you.
All right. Interesting. Chicago's finest.
Yeah.
Is he still alive, or is he buried at Graceland Cemetery with the Pullman guy? We gotta take a field trip.
I'm not sure, but like he and his family were huge like real estate tycoons as well. So like he was part of his parole. He was supposed to live like very modestly and he couldn't pay like certain fines because he was only given a 200-month allowance like thing from his parents who were multimillionaires. Like, but turns out that he was actually living incredibly lavishly, going to races, betting, like all this stuff, and he like broke his parole, and that's why he was going back to prison. So
that's crazy that your parole can be like you have to live like a poor person.
Yeah, I didn't quite follow, and I only read the one article on this guy. So if you have more information on Tazak, but like that's what I got from the article, and I was like, poor Merle Robbins sold it. The reason I thought it was funny is because like Merle Robbins eventually sold Uno to his friend, the coroner, Robert Tazak. And I was like, were they friends or was Tazak like strong arming him into selling it?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, all right, there you go.
That's Uno.
Who knew? Very interesting. Makes me want to crack open a deck. And
I already got him right here.
I feel like it's nice because it's a game you can play. I was like, I could probably teach my niece to play that maybe. You know?
Ooh, yeah, she's
like,
getting to that age.
Yeah.
Cute.
She still like cheats on, you know, her little games.
Yeah, you got it.
Notice. Oh, kids.
Kids.
My topic comes from the Monday New Yorker by Elizabeth Gorski. One down, wedding registry items. And the answer is sheets, but my topic is on wedding registries.
Interesting. Okay.
It's topical. I don't know if I've mentioned on the podcast, but I am getting married. I'm engaged to be wed. So
she is. She's fianced.
You know, a wedding on the mind, but let's talk about wedding registries.
Okay.
Of course, it, you know, goes back to kind of patriarchal traditions.
I love this.
There's a lot of wedding things, but where did it all start? Most of my information is from an article on Vox.com called Wedding Registries Are an Outdated Tradition, But They're Not Going Anywhere by Gabby Delval. Okay. So, wedding gifts originated from the notion of a dowry or bride price. So it wasn't necessarily like the wedding guest brought a gift, but, you know, dowries were exchanged. So basically dowry was paid to the bride's family in exchange for the bride. We love to see it. Very transactional. It usually includes land, animals, money, and other forms of historical wealth. Dowries go back, you know, centuries. There are actually written rules regarding dowries from the 1700s BC.
Damn.
The Code of Hammurabi. So according to this code, a father whose daughter dies after she is married, so like if you marry off your daughter and then she dies, but your daughter had sons, then the father has no claim to the dowry that, to her dowry, it goes to her sons, but if she has no sons, if she only has daughters, then the dowry goes back to the father.
Which can really screw up the daughter's lives because the daughter is still part of the marriage family, not the mom's original family. And so if the mom dies and loses the dowry, those women, those daughters become destitute. It's really sad. Just imagine.
Yeah, so there we go. We love to see it, or we don't. But sometimes dowries were land. So like if you were royalty or really rich, you own land. So like an example of this, King Louis VII, our friend's great grandpa, he married Eleanor of Aquitaine. It's a French
very well
place. So sorry, I'm mispronouncing it. Her dowry included the land of Aquitaine, but when they got divorced, the land went, you know, King Louis VII lost that land, but then Eleanor remarried a man named Henry Plantagenet, the Duke of Normandy, who later became the King of England, and then he got that French land. So.
Plantagenet, I think, yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Whoops.
No, sorry. The only reason I know that is
no.
I'm like obsessed with the royal families. So.
Okay. No, I'm glad that because then our whole podcast doesn't look bad. Just I do, which is fine with me. But yeah, so kind of fun things can happen with the dowry, I guess. But you know, they eventually kind of went out of fashion in many places around the world, not everywhere, because marriage was seen as less of a business transaction. But sometimes it's like, you know, some people get married and they get nothing out of it.
It's true.
The thing is, the bride needs to be getting stuff out of it, not just like the men in her life.
Exactly.
But, you know.
Well, the bride's family is getting something out of it and they're getting nothing. You know? So.
Sometimes a business transaction is you know, it's like people are doing things for free. So enter marriage chests.
Okay.
So in Central and Eastern Europe, in traditional religious countryside communities from the 1600s up until 1980s, a hand-painted marriage chest would be commissioned by families as soon as a couple-to-be became engaged. They were like, they're engaged, quick, get the chest.
Get the chest.
So marriage chests are wooden trunks presented to a couple on the occasion of their wedding, and traditionally they were filled with items to treasure for a lifetime, like fine linens, clothing, and precious possessions.
Cute.
Sometimes these chests would be really ornate, especially during the Italian Renaissance, of course. So large decorated marriage chests made in Italy from the 14th to 16th century are called cassoni. They're like very specific type of marriage chests. And they were like treasured, items of wealthy Renaissance households. They held textiles and precious clothing. They were usually kept at the end of the bed. And cassoni were made in pairs. That's why, cassoni is plural. Just one is like a cassone, but they were always made in pairs. They were often made from walnut or poplar, and they had side panels, which offered a flat surface that made them easy to paint. So what kind of stuff was painted on them? They're basically, the wealthy families would like commission artists to paint on them, and there were kind of different trends throughout the years, depending on like what types of things people got painted. So sometimes, it was just like decorative, like flowers. Sometimes it was a coat of arms. Sometimes it was romantic, love wedding scenes. Sometimes it was religious people. But the most popular themes was scenes from classical mythology or history. So this was a time when a lot of people couldn't read. So they would be like telling stories or telling histories through pictures.
Picture book much?
And it was like, at first, it eventually became a thing where like real artists didn't want to paint cassoni chests, but that's like you'd get paid a lot of money to do it.
Yeah.
But, it kind of became this thing. But it, like, also ironically, the original function of even having a cassoni chest was like in Renaissance Italian marriage rituals, because they would, part of the marriage ritual would be like a, some type of parade or whatever through town. And so they were like, the chest is used because then it's not such a display of wealth, because otherwise, like, whatever would be in the bride's dowry would just be like paraded through town. So it's like put everything in the chest, and people like, it's not as, braggadocious, but then the chests themselves became like super ornate and another symbol of wealth. So
interesting.
But that brings us to the more modern day hope chest.
That's a hope chest. Okay.
I had heard of a hope chest, but I didn't really know what it, I mean, I knew it was like a wooden chest that you kept blankets in, but I didn't know, why it was called the hope chest. What were the origins? So
because we had 2 hope chests in my house when I was growing up, a bigger one and a smaller one.
Well,
interesting.
I'm sure a lot of people, I don't know if people like, well, I'll talk about what they were originally used for. So, European immigrants from Germany and Scandinavia brought the tradition of painted chests to America. So yeah, the cassoni were specifically in Italian Renaissance, but like just having a marriage chest was popular throughout Europe. So they brought it to America. And then young, unmarried American women would collect dowry linen, clothing, and household items together in a hope chest. Oftentimes before they were even like engaged to be married. It would just be something that like you would get, I don't know what age, and you would like start collecting things, and that's what you would take with you to your house when it was time, because you moved out of your parents' house into your marriage house. And for our Australian listeners, this is called a glory box in Australia, or in the UK, it's similar to the concept of filling your bottom drawer in preparation for your wedding day. But yeah, I thought it was interesting. Like a lot of times it was, even before you were married, like you could be a teenager collecting these things, which is like,
it's so interesting because now that you say that, the white chest that I have at my house, that was a hope chest. Okay, that my great-grandmother gave to my dad, filled with linens for his wedding as like a gift. Yeah.
It was probably hers.
Right, and my dad never did it. Like, he didn't collect anything, and my mom didn't either, but that was the story my dad always told, is that, like, Graham, like, saved all of this stuff for him, gave it to him for his wedding in this chest, and it's called the hope chest, And now that you're saying this, it kind of, she definitely did it for herself and pass the tradition on to him, and kind of like the tradition changed a little bit, but that's where I'm thinking that's where it came from.
I like the idea is nice, other than it's like it's only for women and it's only when you get married. Like it is kind of nice to think about, like throughout your life you can collect, like linens, or now that we're into crochet and different crafts and stuff, like like cross stitch things, but then you just have it to have it as an adult, nothing to do with when you get married or whatever.
I also like that as like a potential gift to receive for a wedding, rather than I'm sure we're gonna get into registries, but I have like thoughts about registries, and like it almost feels more sentimental to have like a close family member to put together like a hope chest for you and be like, hey, like I made this for you, like good luck in the marriage. I don't know. Yeah. But
it is like, well, we kind of talk about that wedding registry, well, to more modern ones. But before we get there, this also evolved into something called a leather key basket, which I meant to send you a picture, but I didn't. But I'll send you one later. Okay. But this is like a thing in the South specifically. But it was common for American brides to be gifted a leather key basket, which it was literally just like a leather basket with, maybe a heart on it or whatever. And it represented her new role as mistress of the house. It would be filled with keys to unlock doors, chests, and cupboards in her new home, symbolizing her new status. So obviously these days, you don't have to have like 50 keys to get to stuff in your house. Yeah. So that was a thing.
You're basically the maid of the house. Congratulations. Here's your key ring. You're the custodian.
Yeah, you'll basically. Okay, but the modern day registry emerged in the 1920s. So basically wedding gifts, silver, china, crystal, linen, they were all common in the 1920s. But because there was no way to keep track of who bought what, couples frequently received many of the same gifts.
Duplicates, yeah.
So in 1924, the Chicago department store Marshall Field's, which is now Macy's,
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, they established the first wedding registry to avoid redundancy when giving wedding gifts.
Wow.
Other department stores quickly followed suit. And by the late 1960s, the bridal market accounted for approximately 1/3 of all dinnerware and glassware sales in the U.S.
Wow.
And when you're looking at fine china, the figure was nearly double. 64% of fine china sales were on wedding registries.
It's insane. And people still put that stuff on their registries to this day, even though you're not hosting nothing that needs fine china or fine silver or anything like that.
Well, as someone who goes to a lot of estate sales, and I go through a lot of like, older people's houses, maybe they're either downsizing or they've passed away, it's filled with fine china. The little like carriers of the silverware and stuff like that. And it's just like, but they never used this.
I know.
It just sat in a hutch and collected dust. It's like, if you have fine china, use it. Sometimes I'm like, I should just buy fine china from an estate sale for like $30 and use it as my day-to-day, but it's too like fragile.
I know, it's so nice. It's like, but you and I aren't hosting dinner parties in the way that like someone might have been doing in like the 20s, or like you bring it out for Christmas or Thanksgiving or whatever. But even then I'd be like, I don't trust you idiots to touch this because I don't trust myself.
Yeah.
I'm going to break it.
Still, it's like, I don't know. I have no desire for like fine china versus just a regular porcelain plate. But I feel like my grandparents had fine china. I don't think they ever used it. It just sat in like a cabinet.
Oh yeah. In our hutch, we had like the china and the silver, and it's like, it wouldn't even be brought up for Christmas or Thanksgiving, nothing. So,
and kind of crazy to think about, like registries used to just be like so people would just like go to the store and ask like, what's on like so-and-so's, what's on Catherine's registry?
Right.
Versus now everything is online. So these days, most people have online registries, and it is also becoming more and more common to have cash funds instead of asking for houseware. And this is because people are getting married later than ever, and a lot of people already live together before marriage. So it's not necessarily like, you're not like 20 moving out of your parents' house and you don't own any towels,
Right.
Like,
which is what the point of the registry was, really, is to acquire the material to start your house, which you live with your partner, I live with my partner, Yeah.
I'll get into like what I wish it was now instead.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's like, even if I've lived alone for a decade, I have like everything that I basically need to live alone.
Yeah.
Okay. But this is a little bit depressing here. This is from that Vox article. According to PewResearch.org, the average American has roughly the same purchasing power today as in 1964. They also have more expenses due to the rising cost of housing and, college. So marriage rates are at an all-time low, even though getting married isn't expensive, having a wedding is. The average cost for a wedding was just over $33,000, according to the Knott's annual wedding survey. And that seems, maybe it's because we live in Chicago, that seems low to me. In other words, couples today make less money and spend more on weddings than their parents and grandparents did. But amid all these changes about weddings and, now we're seeing more like micro weddings. A lot of wedding traditions are kind of, well, I guess it depends what demographic you're in. But wedding registries, while evolving, are here to stay. They seem to be like one of the most enduring wedding traditions because who doesn't like gifts? Some guests may feel like they have to give gifts because of the traditions. Others may think of it as like a transactional thing, paying for your plate. So you give a gift that costs roughly the same as what a couple spent per wedding guest. So it's stuck around. But let's talk about fun facts about wedding registries. So Domino's Pizza has a wedding registry.
Are you kidding?
So you can choose from 11 different pizza bundles to enjoy before, during, and after the wedding.
That is really cute.
So they have a thank you card-a-thon. There's wedding night pizza. There's low-key date night, or the 2 a.m. bachelor party feast.
That is really cute. Yeah.
The number one items couples register for, according to the Knott Inspector, is
honeymoon?
No, KitchenAid stand mixer.
Oh, well, that would be my second guess, honestly.
I saw a tweet that was like, I really want a KitchenAid stand mixer, but it seems easier to just get married.
That's so true. They're so pricey, and for what?
I know. Alex wants to put one on our register. I'm like, we literally never reach for a mixer, but it's one of those things that's like, it has to be gifted to you.
Right. And it's one of those things too, you don't have it and then you need it and you're like, oh my God, I got to mix this whole thing by hand. I wish I had a stand mixer. Matt and I pull it out maybe twice a year.
Yeah.
But when we do pull it out, it's like, thank God we have this thing. But it's like, we got it as a gift. So we would never have bought that ourselves.
What is the KitchenAid one has to be like, or is so expensive, and I'm not sure why. I don't really
But it's really sturdy. But even so, it's not as good as it used to be.
Exactly. There's that too. So I don't know. You're better off finding a vintage one,
or just hiring a chef to come mix it for you.
Okay. I also saw another tweet that was like, it's like people have can openers on their wedding registries. It's like, are you just living without a can opener until you get married?
Yeah, you see weird things on wedding registries. I'm like, what are you talking about? You don't have that already?
Well, let's talk about some wedding registry etiquette that I got from emilypost.com. If you want to learn more about Emily Post, Chelsea did an episode on it, episode 99, Play by the Rules. She's like an etiquette person. So this is from the Emily Post website.
Okay.
Registries are incredibly organized and helpful, and it's not greedy to register. Most guests find registries a very efficient way to select a gift that the couple would need, and that wouldn't be duplicated by any other guest. That's like the original point of the registry, is to not get duplicates. So
I do appreciate a registry.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
I always get to the registry before when everything is bought, and then I'm like, damn, I guess we're doing a cash gift. Fuck, sorry guys.
Well, while it's okay to have more than one registry, she says, draw the line at 3 or 4, and you want to be helpful by offering your guests variety. So, different price points. But it's just, don't be not self-indulgent by listing your every wish in the world. It's like me and my letters to Santa as a kid. I'm like, I want every Polly Pocket in the world.
Yeah.
It's fine to have a less traditional registry, one with gardening equipment or camping gear, but include a traditional one too, even if it isn't very full. Many guests, especially older ones, will feel much more comfortable with a few classic options. That's like what because, like I said, I've lived alone for a decade. Alex also lived alone. Like, we've been living together for a couple of years, 2 years, but no, just a year. But anyways, the point is that we don't need, we have everything that we need, but it's true. It's like, well, the older guests don't want to give cash. They want to give a toaster, but it's like, we have a toaster.
Right. A stand mixer. Grace, just put it on.
Exactly. I know. There's one thing. I was like, a NutriBullet? But then it's like, I don't need that.
SodaStream?
I'm trying to be yes, we actually do have a SodaStream on our registry because we've been wanting one for a while. Yeah. But it's like, I'm trying to be more, thoughtful about
consumption
purchases and things that I have in my house, and like I want to have things that I actually use, that I actually like, that'll last a while. But it's like then you go to make the registry and you can be very impulsive. You're just like looking through the list like, well, add this, and it's like we don't really want this. It just like looks
or have the
good
room for it. All
it.
of those things are
it's like then we have to, we still rent, so we're gonna move eventually. It's not like we're in a place where we're gonna stay for a very long time.
It's not like you have a ton of storage,
exactly. Okay. She also says that since shower gifts are typically less expensive, it might be a good idea to set up a shower registry separate from your wedding registry with lower priced items.
Oh my God.
You just don't even have to have a wedding shower. I'm not.
Yeah, that's the other thing is, no. Me neither.
We've gone up. We've talked about this before. There's like so many events that now for every wedding, but
it's like you're lucky if I'm actually at the wedding. Like that's how stressful all of this is for me. Like I'm not going to do my 4 events before. No.
The best registries have a mix of both prices and types of items so that all of your guests will feel comfortable finding something that they will be excited to give you. That's why having a cash one is nice, because people can just put whatever they want, like the amount,
I had my cousin on his wedding registry. There was like 3 things. It was like honeymoon, like towels, and like a cash fund, or like a pool money for like a apiary for bees. And that's what we donated
the 3
to.
essentials.
Yeah.
Okay. The Emily post says, groom once asked if it was okay for him to register for an electric razor for himself. She says, technically there isn't a rule against it, but there's also a high likelihood that the razor will linger unchosen, as it's a personal item rather than something for the bride and groom, or bride and bride, or groom and groom, or
person and person,
betrothed and betrothed, to share in their new life together. It has always been acceptable to give cash or a check to the bride and groom. It is also now okay for the couples to signal that gifts of money would be welcome. It's okay to say cash, but if that makes you uncomfortable, donation, help, or contribution are all good substitutes. And while there are websites that help facilitate cash gifts, it's best to have at least one other online registry as well, as many guests will not feel comfortable having no traditional gift options to choose from. It's also like, okay, get over it. Like,
I know, get over it. Get over it.
Okay, just remember, in the end, the choice of gift is always up to the giver. So great Aunt Edna might still buy you a blender. And then what about thank you notes for gifts? So apparently, she says it's a myth that you have a year to send thank you notes for your wedding presents. I never heard that. She says best case scenario, thank you notes are sent within a day or so of receiving a gift. But that's crazy. She said between like all the stuff that you have to do with your wedding, aim to have all of your thank you notes sent within a month of returning from your honeymoon. Still worried? Thank you notes can also come from the groom. Some of the stuff I'm just like, oh God.
I know. Oh my God.
I'm telling Alec, it's like we each write 5 a day for like, a couple days, and boom, we're good.
I gotta find a way to make it so that people know that they're not getting thank you notes. They'll get a thank you evite to their email.
Yeah. There you go.
Thanks.
Well, yeah, I mean, wedding registries, we can go on and on about weddings and whatever, but
we really could.
This is kind of how I feel about it. I feel like it's very nice that people want to, give you stuff to kind of like set you up for your life and your new life. And it's great. And I like getting people wedding gifts or whatever. But I feel like, one, not everyone is going to get married. Not everyone wants to get married. Same with like, a lot of people, the baby shower is a time when they're celebrating, get gifts, baby related. But still, it's like, can we as a society instead just decide like, your 23rd birthday and like your 33rd birthday, it feels like those are like big shifts in your life, that you can like get a register. That's like your time. You don't have to be married. You don't have to be like doing anything big.
Yeah,
but, like,
that's not a bad idea.
That's just a transition in your life. And so then you sign up for a registry because, I could have used a registry when I was moving into my first apartment and I didn't have anything.
A cutting board, a toaster, like a steak knife, all of these things that you just don't have. Or even know how to buy, really, when you're that young. Like, you go to Walmart and you're like, well, which one do I pick? I don't know.
Yeah, so I feel like that would be great because there's so much stuff about, I don't know, there's so much pressure on weddings, and it's like...
I know.
And it's built up so much that someone's like, people are like desperate to have a wedding, and then sometimes maybe they rush into a marriage, and then it doesn't end up working out, and then that, affects society as a whole. So it's like, let's just... celebrate people in general, just growing up, celebrating that they're able to, move out of their house or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyways, I feel like I wish we could change it and have registries that way, where it's like just, different phases of your life. People can come together, celebrate you, help you out, give you a little bit of money.
I agree. I totally agree. I find the traditions around weddings, and we've talked about this a million times, are really anxiety inducing for me. And like the obsession with all of the different events and the presents and all of this stuff. It's like, I don't know. It's like, if you want to give me a present, then help me pay for the wedding. Like an average cost of the wedding is $33,000 is what Grace just said. I'm going to open my registry before I even get engaged, and you can start donating money to the wedding price. Yeah. The more money people donate, the better the food will be, the better the entertainment will be. So let's get donating now. I don't need
That's smart. Yeah.
Well,
but yeah, that's but you should look at our wedding register. Have you looked? Because I
haven't even looked.
Okay, you should look, because I did have some fun with the photos that we used for.
Okay, cool.
But we did a lot of cash registries, but for different things, different funds that we.
Yeah, I actually.
So that...
Go ahead.
Huh? No. So the people feel like they're specifically donating to something we like to do, but it's really just we were struggling to be like, what objects do we want to put on here? I don't know.
I definitely feel like,
because like Emily Post said, some people really like to give objects, but it's also, I think it can become so I don't know, just very impulsive when you're looking. It's like, well, yeah, add this, and it's like, I want to think more about do I really need all new towels? I have towels and they're perfectly fine.
Right. And those aren't.
Do I need all new plates? I like to get a lot of my stuff at estate sales, secondhand too. So to me, it's looking at these websites, this stuff doesn't really appeal to me. New.
It's based in consumerism, which is, I think, stressful for us in a lot of ways. I have the appliances that I need. I might put something like an air purifier down. That's one of the appliances that I haven't bought for myself yet, or a humidifier. But after that, I'm like, what? Am I going to put a couch on here? That's the next thing that I need.
Yeah, you could couch fund.
Right? But I feel we're lucky in that way that we have a lot of what we need, and we know what, we're like, oh, we would want this, but we don't have a big enough place for this yet. So we're just going to hold off. I'm not even going to put it on the registry, but then I'm sure that stresses out the moms, the dads, the uncles, the aunts, the grandparents.
Well, I also feel like that's a lot of people are getting married later in life. And sometimes, I'm going to weddings. I'm like, you're the one getting married. You're marrying the love of your life, and I have to buy you something, It's
right.
Where's my present?
Right. Yeah. I loved, they're for Italian weddings, or, it's some sort of Russian Orthodox wedding I'm thinking specifically of Goodfellas, the movie, and The Deer Hunter, the movie. Where I don't know traditionally, if for these cultures they give money and object gifts, but the bride would literally just sit there with a pillowcase and people just come up and hand checks and you put them in the pillowcase and that's your gifts. That sounds a hell of a lot more fun to me than the KitchenAid stand mixer, 3 new towels, and a serving dish.
Exactly. So, well, just give me cash, then I can buy KitchenAid stand mixer when the time is right. Know,
if the urge so overtakes me.
Yeah,
I have some thoughts about something for you for your wedding, so I want to talk about it. I should also look at your registry.
Well, I also think it's nice too. If you get something for someone that's I love a gift that is thoughtful and specific to that person that I don't ask for. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it shows that you know them as well.
Yeah. Anyway.
But anyway, a conversation for another day.
Yeah, let's just do life stage registries, everyone. Can we all get on board with that?
I'll start mine for 33 now.
All right.
All right.
Well, thanks for listening, everyone.
Yeah.
And we'll
tune in next time.
See you next time, yeah.
Yeah, but until then, keep curious. If you have any thoughts on Uno house rules versus official rules, please let us know. If you are a pro-registry or anti-registry girl/gal/human, let us know. We love to hear from you.
You can talk to us on Twitter at the Good Eve Girls.
Or Instagram at the Good Evening Girls.
Or TikTok at the Good Eve Girls.
Come on down, say hello, and until next time, my fine feathered friends, goodbye.
Bye.